doesn't love Winnie the Pooh? Hell, he's like one of the most innocent things on the planet. I think there's a law actually forbidding people not to like him. I know people who despise Mickey Mouse, but they can't bring themselves to actually say they hate Winnie the Pooh. So what is it? What is it that just makes him so likable? Well, I think a lot of it has to deal with the fact that, while he is very optimistic, he does make mistakes, and he does get in trouble. He's very naive, but he's also very pleasant. And I think that makes him much more interesting than someone like Mickey Mouse. He's still positive, but there's just much more of a character to play with. And it all started with this one film, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. These characters are so famous now, I don't even have to name them. Kanga, Roo, Tigger, Owl, Rabbit, Piglet, Eeyore, the list goes on. The story is very loose in that there's not that much of a flowing narrative. It's just sort of the life of Pooh and his friends through the course of, I don't know, a year maybe? It's just all the troubles, circumstances, and weird situations they get in, and how they manage to live or get around it. As a kid, I liked it fine, but watching it now years later, actually, it's a lot better than I remember it. They actually make a lot of fourth wall jokes using the book that they're in, and even sometimes talk with the narrator.
And so we come to the next chapter in which...
But I haven't finished yet.
But Pooh, you're in the next chapter.
Oh, what happens to me?
Well, let's turn the page and find out.
But that's not the only reason it's good. There's just this sense to it, this atmosphere, this real likability to this world that they've created. It's very laid back, it's very slow paced, but at the same time, these characters are just so interesting and so nice that you really enjoy spending time with them. You don't care if not much is going on. You could just have a conversation with any one of these people and you'd probably be very satisfied. I really like movies like that. They don't feel they have to stick to the three-act structure and instead just let you shoot the shit for a bit. They just let characters breathe and do whatever it is they do. And these characters are really enjoyable and the situations they get in are really enjoyable. We got some real creative scenarios with a windstorm, Pooh trying to get more honey, and of course another trippy as hell Disney scene with epilumps and woozles.
A heffalump or woozle is very confusal. A heffalump or woozle's very sly. Sly.
The songs are catchy and clever. The animation, I think, actually matches the mood and style they're going for. And like I said, there's just a real heavy atmosphere to it. Especially like the ending. There's no big climax, no chase scene, no major discoveries. It's just Christopher Robin talking with his imaginary friend. And the inevitability of the future.
Pooh, when I'm away just doing nothing, will you come up here sometimes?
You mean alone? Just me?
Yes. And Pooh, promise you won't forget me? Ever?
Oh, I won't, Christopher. I promise.
That's actually kind of heavy stuff. Winnie the Pooh is not often looked at as one of the great Disney films, but it is looked at as one of the great Disney characters. And that's all the film is, just enjoying this character and all the people that surround him. It's clever, it's nice, it's friendly. I really enjoyed watching it again. In fact, it's one of the few Disney films where I like it just as much as a kid as I do as an adult. It takes me right back to that same place I enjoy, and I always love coming back. Okay, I'll just get it out of the way. There's a picture of a naked woman in this movie. Disney is full of pervs. There, done. Now let's talk about the movie. The Rescuers. Sort of along the same veins of the Aristocats or 101 Dalmatians in that there's not much magic, not much stellar animation, and mostly just cutesy animals looking, well, cutesy. Though I don't think it's as bad as something as the Aristocats, there is a little bit more story and character to it. Nothing much really stands out about it. It centers around a little girl who's being held by this evil woman who wants her to go inside this mine and get this incredibly valuable diamond. Talk about child labor laws. Well, it turns out there's a big group of mice called the Rescued Aid Society that go in and try to help people in such circumstances. Definitely a creative idea, I guess, though I guess, like most people in the movie, I wonder what the heck a bunch of mice can do in rescuing a bunch of people. But I guess that's the point of the film. There's no person too small, yada yada yada. So two mice named Bernard and Miss Bianca go out to rescue her while also coming across a bunch of colorful characters. I guess I remember a few things that stood out, like some of the bad guys actually are entertaining. Like this crazy lady who's holding the girl looks like something out of a 1940s French bordello. A really bad 1940s French bordello. Her reactions a lot of the time are pretty fun to watch. She also has this blithering sidekick who once in a while gets a good line, and she also has these two alligators that are probably one of the funniest things in the movie. But aside from that, it's just more cutesiness. The little girl is obnoxious. I can't stand her. She's like one of the Olsen twins. She's just designed to look precious.
Brutus, you! Did you let that little brat escape again? You're too soft.
And most of the movie is just filled with other scenes that drag or are overly cutesy or don't really seem to have much point to them. I don't hate it, I just don't remember it doing very much for me. Even as a kid, I sort of remember being bored by it. Again, with the exception of one or two comedic scenes. Not really a fan. I'd probably say there's much better Disney movies you can watch.
Tomorrow is another day.
And what was up with that naked lady?
When you're the best of friends, having so much fun together.
The Fox and the Hound is another one of those Disney movies that probably has too many cutesy scenes in it, but to its credit, it uses it much more to its advantage. The film's about a little fox who loses his mother and gets taken up by an old lady. She unfortunately, though, happens to live right next door to a hunter who has a dog. Two dogs, actually, but one of them's a puppy trying to learn how to hunt. Obviously, you'd think these two wouldn't get along, but they seem to hit it off pretty well. As time goes on, their friendship becomes stronger, despite the fact that everybody's telling them they're gonna be the worst of enemies. But they keep playing and having fun and constantly get into trouble. It's not until the dog is taken away for a long time and becomes a professional hunting dog that he returns and finds that their friendship can't be the way they were. Through an accident, the fox injures the dog's best friend and the dog vows vengeance. And on top of that, the woman finds she just can't hold on to the fox anymore and sets him free in the wild. This, according to every woman I've ever talked to, is a big tearjerker scene. So the two are now enemies out for blood and try to see who will come out on top. It's a good setup for a story, and they do it pretty well, but I have to admit I felt like it could be stronger. Like, instead of the best friend getting injured, why didn't he die? I'm sorry, it's just, this movie would have been a lot more powerful if that dog died. Or how about when the woman is letting the fox go, just having some instrumental music, or even have it silent, instead of playing whatever pop song was popular at the time. Little tidbits like that really keep me from loving this film, but as a Disney film, it's pretty strong. The big scene after the climax is a very good payoff, and you do find yourself very invested in it. And like I said, some of the cutesy scenes drag, but I think it's allowed to drag, sort of in the same way Bambi was allowed to drag. You know you're gonna get to the harder stuff later. I just wish it was a little harder. I don't know, maybe it's the sick bastard in me, but I think this could have been a little bit more adult. But as is, it's a decent movie. The songs aren't really that memorable, and I don't remember too many of the side characters either, but it's the friendship between the two of them that really holds up. I'd say it's definitely worth your time taking a watch.
Quegli elefanti rosa. Ah, elefanti rosa.